Okay, so here's my Triumph SpeedTwin, right? Triumph SpeedTwin, and I have on the TEC exhaust. So TEC, they are based out of the UK, right? And they basically they're obviously they're aftermarket, but looking at their, I've heard of them before, but I never really looked into them. So since I had this pipe, the pipe came with the bike. So I looked at went to their website and looked them up, and they basically sell like lower cost aftermarket parts. They're the parts like on the exhaust pipe and everything. All the prices are very reasonable, really, very very competitive. I would say like budget pricing, but looking at this exhaust, for example, those are decent TIG welds, right? These decent TIG weld. This over here is actually not, well, it actually, this looks like a MIG weld, but it could be a TIG weld too. It's just a little bit sloppier. Here's a TIG weld right here for sure. That looks decent. This right here is potentially a MIG weld or maybe a TIG weld, but it looks a little sloppier. So it looks like these lap joints. This is a lap joint right here. This is a lap joint. The lap joint's a little bit sloppier, whereas the butt joints are a little bit nicer. That's actually pretty typical of welders. Usually, especially a welder that's a little bit lower skilled, they will have a harder time with butt joints. Excuse me, with the lap joints than they are with butt joints. Butt joints are usually easier than lap joints are, because lap joints are basically it's a fillet weld. Where here this is not a fillet weld, so fillet welds are harder. So anyways, so quality wise, they're on the lower end cost side. TEC brand. And this particular exhaust here is a single-sided exhaust, right? One side only. Let's go back to the other side here. So there's no muffler on the side. So obviously you can see the left cylinder's exhaust comes out and it crosses through, right? Crosses through to the other side. So there's no more X pipe, stock factory. There's X pipe right here that connects the two sides to each other. That's where the catalytic converter is, and from there it comes out as two. But obviously in this case, there's no more catalytic converter. It's into one or two into one onto this side, which is right down over here. You see that right there, right? So it literally 90 degrees. That's not from a performance standpoint of view. For airflow, for the flow, exhaust gas flow, it's not great to have a perpendicular coming in like that. It would have been better to have it coming in, at a curve, so that way it's all sort of, because this kind of messes up with the flow of this side. They kind of mess with each other, versus if they had come in together, they get as smoothly and out. Just flows a little bit better. So I think part of that is because again, this is a budget brand. So they, it's the minimum. I think it's to minimize, minimum in R&D to do that. It's a little lower cost to do that. Less R&D. But anyways, as far as I can tell, it works fine. Going out into one exhaust, you have two pipes. Look how big this. The header is here, so the ID is going to be sizable as well. But coming out, it's pretty small. It's like my thumb, right? The width of my thumb. Back to here, look at this thing. That's like almost, not quite double the width of my thumb, but pretty close. It's like one thumb and 7/8 maybe. So 1 and 7/8 of my thumb width over here. So the big, so definitely. This right here kind of causes a restriction, and this right here is definitely another restriction as well. But it's all right. You have to think about the stock exhaust. The stock exhaust is, they're pretty restricted too, with the catalytic converter up in this area right here. Then when the stock comes out into the can, they have various chambers and tubing and stuff, so it's kind of restricted as well. So I think this is probably pretty similar as far as performance wise. It's probably pretty similar to the stock. The main difference is because this can is so small and everything's kind of restricted, you know, it's not as noisy. So that's why I like this exhaust. The sound of it sounds good. It's a little bit noisier, it's a little louder than stock, but at the same time it's not obnoxious, it's not noisy, it doesn't sound goofy, it doesn't sound bad. So I actually like the sound. One negative to having a single-sided or single exhaust is that it gives you a monotone sound, not a stereo sound. When you have an exhaust where it's double, with both sides, a true double exhaust, not those fake double exhausts. Where when I say the fake double exhaust, I mean where there's like one pipe, and from one pipe you have like two cans. That's not a true double exhaust. A true double exhaust is you really literally have like here you have, or not here but on the stock, we have two cans on both sides, but also because there's two cylinders coming out and there's actual two sounds. And when you have that, it actually gives a stereo sound. So when you listen to this stuff, like on, like right now I'm recording on an iPhone. When you listen to iPhone, you can't tell with that because the iPhone I believe records in mono, not stereo. And most recording is recorded in mono, not stereo. So realistically, you can only really hear it when you're there with your own ears, and you actually hear the stereo sound in a dual exhaust versus a single exhaust. So anyways, let me start this bike up, and so we can listen to this exhaust sound. And right now the engine is cold, right? Right now it's engine temperature is probably only about, I don't know, 60 degrees or something like that, 60 degrees Fahrenheit, 65 degrees Fahrenheit. But anyways, let's do this exhaust sound test right here. So I'm gonna be, let me see, I'm gonna go maybe about 10 feet away, maybe like at a perpendicular angle, maybe. Let's see if I can zoom in a little better. Let's go back. So I'm going at a 45-degree angle from the exhaust. 45-degree angle from the exhaust. And I'm probably about 10 feet. Hold on, let me go back a little bit further. So I'm probably about 10 feet away. So let's say 10 feet away. Approximately 10 feet away. And approximately 45-degree angle from the exhaust tip. Okay? So that way you can tell, you can basically hear it. So again, I'm starting it cold. Let it idle down. Basically give it a couple minutes, let it idle down, and from there I'm gonna give it a few revs so we can hear how it sounds. Startup idle wasn't actually very high. It wasn't as high as I was expecting it. Now you can hear it idle down a little bit. So let's give it another minute or so to let it warm up, and I can rev it a few times and you can hear how it sounds when it revs. Revving at, is idling at 1000 RPM. pretty loud. I mean, standing there it seems louder, but when you're actually riding it, it's not very loud. But also, if you notice my revving, when I rev it fast, it was actually it was just louder. When I slowly revved it up to the same RPM, slow, it was actually quieter. So that was interesting. Anyways, so now the engine's warm. It's not hot, but it's warmer. But anyways, yeah, so that's how it sounds. So thanks for watching.